Welcome back, everybody, to Fly the Coop. I am here with Sherry Schmid, the president of Edina Realty Home Services. Welcome, Sherry.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you
Thanks
today.
for having me.
I know Sherry and I have known each other for 20 plus years. We met actually when we were doing commercial work. You were the head of
Build a resource group at the time.
And look at what has happened in 20 years with your career.
It's been a journey for us both.
So tell everybody a little bit about you, because you're an impressive woman, Sherry.
Oh, I appreciate that. I have had the privilege of being in an industry that, especially as women, allows me to have two full-time jobs, full-time role as mom, but also full-time role with Edina Realty currently as president.
I know, what a big responsibility, especially in such a dynamic time, not only in our community, our city, our state, but in the world. And going through COVID, post-COVID, and coaching not only corporate America, Edina Realty, but all of the nearly 2,700 agents that you operate. So tell us a little bit about that. And I'd love to hear your take on the state of the market right now.
On the state of the market. Yeah. Yes, that's everybody's question right now, the state of the market. It's, like I said, I've had the privilege of being with this organization, and there's a tremendous amount of fantastic people like yourself and professionals to work with and to help. What I really love about Edina and about this business is all the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, me too.
And the independent mindset that I get to work with, because it doesn't feel as corporate, and you get a lot of creativity with that.
Yeah, you sure do. This business lends itself to creativity, and that is my favorite part, with the opportunity to work with not only you, but all of the people that we have in this fine organization. Just an extraordinary group. And I'm sure in crafting what is now the new Edina Realty, since you have been in the position of a president 5 years now, what has that been like? Because it's been a transformation, truly. You've done some amazing things.
Well, and one of the things I like, because I get asked to talk and to speak with younger people too about career, and especially for women in careers. And one of the things I like to share is with that independent contractor and small businesses, it's the part I love. And I love that American dream is alive and well.
Absolutely.
And I get to work with it every day. And one thing that's important to me, and as we look at strategy and we look at the direction for the company, first and foremost, it's keeping that going.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many forces out there at play and we see it in our world, that big international corporations, it gets bigger and bigger, that whole Wall Street component.
It really has.
I love to be able to lead the charge with this group of like you said, thousands of independent contractors, small businesses.
It's been interesting, even especially in the 5 years you've been in this role, how much the industry has changed and how many players have come into the industry and have really changed how we interact with the client and how we're competing out there to share what we do, and how elevated the service level is in comparison to so many, paired with an ever-growing shift in what we call the economic state. So when you are, especially so many new agents that have entered the ecosystem, I call it, right? So how are you coaching them? Like, what are you saying about the market right now today?
The market right now today has taken a shift from 2020, 21. And I was in front of a group of managers yesterday, and as I shared with them, we watched that pendulum after COVID. It swung so fast and so quick in the real estate market. And once interest rates took a jump in kind of that May timeframe, we saw the industry sort of pause a little bit because people were catching their breath.
They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, buyers looking at, okay, what's happening here? Sellers looking at what's happening here.
Right.
And I really do think this fall, and we're even starting to see signs of it, where people are looking at, okay, the sky is not falling. Homes are still going to sell. 5-6% interest rates are really good rates.
They are great rates.
Really
we were locking
rates.
into those rates in 2005, 2006, an amazing time in the market. And I think people confuse what's happening right now with, what they interpret as the crash back then. This is not at all the case, not even close. Stabilization is an important thing in all things in life, including real estate. It was not sustainable what we were dealing with, not the rate and not the pace. That's not healthy for anybody or anything. So when you're coaching the young new agents coming on board, because that's a huge facet of our work, right? Under 30.
Yep.
Because they don't know anything else but just the recent market. What's the take on that?
I think the biggest take for everybody is if all we follow are headlines, especially national headlines,
Yeah.
it's going to paint a picture, and it can be kind of gloomy.
It's very gloomy.
And when you look but what's important is we look locally and what's happening in our local market. We have the best unemployment rate of any major metropolitan area anywhere in the country. That's huge.
It's a massive thing. I just think what you just said is interesting in the fact that the media does ride on the doom and gloom when in fact it's not that at all. And it's individual agents in the market, I say in the trenches, speaking the true story, the truth of what's really happening day in and day out in our market.
And that's where, this kind of technology, social media gives us a platform to be able to share, here's something you probably aren't reading in the media. Here's something you're not hearing about. And everybody likes to read headlines only and not go into the details. And really, when you look at our current market area, our Twin City market area, it's very robust. Unemployment is really low. Still hearing about situations where homes are selling quickly. I think
multiple offers.
People are getting this picture that nothing is selling. Not true.
Not true at all.
It's not true. And I would also say this: the pace that we were on in 20 and 21 was not sustainable for anyone.
No, it
wasn't healthy for our market. So we're seeing more of a normalized market and a move to a normalized market. I welcome it.
Me too. You and I've been talking about this for a year now. We're looking forward to normalization. If you were to, I'm going to head when we share the story about you and what we really want to leave the audience with in terms of 5 top points in our market. We had talked about this privately. If you were to say top 5 things you should know about the real estate market and our market here, what would they be?
I would say the top 5 things in our market. Number 1, interest rates are at a really good rate. Historically speaking, when you look at where interest rates are now, they're on the low end.
They are.
Nope. If we're going to compare it to a 2% and 3%, those days are gone.
And that was short-lived and never has happened before, nor should it probably ever happen again.
No. And the other thing that I would say is that housing isn't the stock market, and it shouldn't be treated like the stock market. So people who want to try to follow it, engage it in a similar type manner, these are our homes. We're talking about homes. We're talking about shelter, along with food. This is a critical component for everyone and in their life. And so when you look at it, that needs to be first and foremost. What is it that I want to do? What is it that I need for me, for my family?
Absolutely. I call it the lifestyle transition.
Right.
And how you live your life 5 years, 10 years, 20 years out. People jump down this rabbit hole and they get stuck there when high level, you're talking about living day to day.
Yep.
And the differential's so small in the big scheme of things.
Well, and look at what we saw during COVID.
Yeah.
COVID drove that. COVID drove that emotional need for here's what I need in my space. And so that needs to be number 1 when you're thinking about housing. Secondary is the economic component. And that's where, having a real estate advisor to be able to come in and really sit down with you to assess what are my needs, what do I need for me, whether I'm single or I have a significant other or a family, what are those needs? And then it's the economic component that follows.
Absolutely. Right sizing. It's about right sizing both financially and how you're using your space every day.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then, of course, going back to knowing our local market, the unemployment rate is crazy low here in comparison to other parts of the country.
We've got a very healthy economy.
Really, I think it's because we're so dynamic and diverse.
We are. Yeah.
And it's really allowing a stabilization. I think that's been the case, and that's been the growth model for a long time with the Twin Cities, which is extremely stabilizing as a long-term plan.
The other part that people miss, again, if you're looking only at national stats or national headlines that are out there, we've had very, very good and healthy appreciation. So of course, if you compare that to the coast, you think, well, ours isn't as strong.
We aren't the coast.
But that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
That's a good thing, because that means if there's a bubble somewhere, we're not likely to see that same kind of bubble. We might hear about some of that in certain market areas. We really don't. And I talked to a number of leaders in our industry here locally. None of us see that or project that happening in the Twin Cities market.
Not at all. And, when you're looking at the national media speak, they are really speaking from that perspective. So that speak is very different from what we are experiencing here locally. Absolutely.
And the other thing that I would add, when you compare to 2008 and people look at, okay, there's going to be a bubble and then we're going to have all of these foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
And the one stat that I love to show, and we have it here for our local market, when you look at the appreciation and you look at the amount of homeowners in our marketplace,
Right.
with equity and significant equity,
Mm-hmm.
even if we saw a decline in prices, which we don't foresee,
Mm-hmm.
but even if we did see some of that, people are still going to have equity.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to see foreclosures and short sales like we saw back. It's a completely different market dynamic that
I
we're
agree.
dealing with. This one is led by demand. This is led by COVID demand. Again, going back to that human need of what do I need for my housing?
Right.
And when people had to go home and we're locked in at home,
Yeah.
that's what drove it. So that's what this is all about. It's not fueled by bad lending practices that we saw back in the mid 2000s.
I absolutely agree with all of that. And you and I have been through COVID, had many sit down luncheons where we've talked about this and thought, man, this would be a great conversation, be able to carry, carry a message through to a larger groups of people, a larger population of people, because it's shocking, even in our own industry, within our own ecosystem, in our office, it's shocking how many even agents need to be coached through the reality of forecasting because they haven't had the experience to really understand the dynamic of the shifts in the real estate market and how different each part of the country is and how the international component affects it. Mm-hmm. We're very desirable on paper, everybody. This is a great city.
It's a great city.
Mm-hmm. We love the Twin Cities, and we're so excited to be able to welcome so many people from other parts of the country that are in the middle of relocation right now because we are so attractive on paper.
And I would add, too, one of the things we see for Minnesota as a whole, Western Wisconsin, and I was talking to a group outstate, and they're in the lakes, Western Minnesota, up in Brainerd.
Love that area.
They've talked about the amount of people coming from out of state because of COVID, and they can work now remotely, and they want more.
It's a real
of the
thing.
Lifestyle. Yeah,
it's a real thing. East Coast, West Coast, Chicago. For different reasons, there's a whole lot of opportunity right now to change life and figure out what they really want in terms of a long-term plan where they really want to live because they have that choice because they are not bound. The corporate America isn't binding them to a location anymore.
Right.
Totally different situation. So I know we're tight on time today. Sherry's got a big meeting and we're running behind schedule already. Before we let you go today, I want to totally do a shift here.
Yeah.
Work-life balance when it comes to family. How do you do it?
Well, you know what? Like everybody, it's a constant balancing act. I would say that it's never balanced. There's times where it's all work. There's times where family and personal completely dominate for all the right reasons, and it has to be a priority. But it's you know what? I appreciate it, and over the years, I've struggled in both ends of it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It is all about family, and
it really is
family first. And so I love that. And I love that I've got a supportive husband who definitely supports me in all of that and helps.
Yeah. Having the partner in place to really support the work as a female is so critical. And then of course, figuring out how to, when you have real estate babies, they kind of learn the rhythm.
Yep.
And then leaping, I say you kind of have to leap out of the buckets. And sometimes it's very centered around the work because it has to be. And sometimes you have to step away from it entirely. And it's all about the family.
About family. Absolutely.
So we both have let's see, do you have a graduate this year?
Not this year.
It was last year.
It was 2020. I had my second son.
Yeah. So you're completely empty nested.
No, I still got my youngest.
That's
He's a
right.
Sophomore.
He's a sophomore. So you have 2 more years.
He's going to be driving soon.
Oh my gosh. Another one. The last one.
That's
so stressful.
I know. Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. So what else would you like to share with everybody before we let you go today?
Overall, like I said, it's a great market right now to take advantage of. There's a lot of opportunity. And especially when you see, and you hear this too in broader markets, when you see other people panicking, it's really when that time and the opportunity. And again, there were so many buyers who felt like they didn't get a chance the last couple of years. And I would really encourage all of them to come on out and talk to their real estate advisor because there's there's a lot of opportunity starting to build.
Right
and
now
it's
there is. There was a little bit of exhaustion in the spring. I'll just have to put this shout out before we end. There was some exhaustion because of the multiple offer
Yes,
market,
yeah.
both for the brokers, realtors out there and the clients.
And the clients.
And they maybe you're not necessarily aware of the fact that the opportunity is up here now. And you have a stabilization with more inventory to look at. Not that some of that isn't still going in multiple, but boy, you have more beautiful real estate to look at than we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
So go out and look, because that's the fun part.
It's a fun part.
It sure is. Sherry, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for driving out here and being with me. I really appreciate it. Fly the Coop. Sherry's a perfect example. She has evolved into this amazing, amazing and critical role in our country and in our state and in our community, in our city, as the president of Edina Realty Home Services. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.